Test, 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 test. Hello and welcome. I probably should have made sure that my webcam would work before I began the stream. Let me just check that real quick. Hold on. All right, let's plug it in. Hey, now down the street, the same old thing we did last week. Activate. Boom. Okay, it works. Great. So there's a debate going on. I figure I wanted to stream today anyways, and I wanted to do a research stream, but you know, this thing's going on. If it ends up being that people are not super duper interested in it, we'll probably switch it up and do something else, because there's a gazillion people covering this right now, and I am well aware of that. But yeah, that is the plan for today, at least. Let me make sure we have a thumbnail up real quick. It has already started, but it's like a few minutes in, so it shouldn't be all that big of a deal. 1 second here. Let me go ahead, edit this, and put my thumbnail in. I'm trying to do things a little bit more professionally, just a little bit. There we go. We have a goofy-ass thumbnail on YouTube, so that should be interesting. Hopefully that updates. I made my Fox News account, so ready to go there. Okay. Looks like that's saved. That's good. You're late? Yeah, I know. Very, very late, but oh well. Not that big of a deal. I am not sweating it, at least. Okay. Dope, dope, dope. Should be good to go. Let me make sure that I have my chat up in front of me here. Boom, boom, boom. Hello. Hope everybody is doing well. And if you're not, I'll just try to make this fun for you. So, you know. We'll get this up on the other screen here. And I'll just put on the audio for it so you guys have it. Hold on. Let's do this.
For girls all day long, because strong girls become strong women become strong leaders, and biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of our girls.
We're going to start the lightning round, and the first question is going to go to you, Vice President.
Love to hear your thoughts on all kinds of things, not just cringe debate shit. Yours is a unique voice. Hope you enjoy your time in YouTube.
President Biden will be 82 years old on Inauguration Day. Nearly 70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test in order to serve, Vice President Pence?
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and 30 seconds, no. The American people can make those judgments. But let me say, I'm running for president of the United States because we don't need a president who's too old, and we don't need a president who's too young. We need a president who's been there. We need a president who knows how Congress works, how the White House works, how states worked. And on this education issue, Martha, I was fighting against No Child Left Behind when Republicans were doubling the Department of Education. I'll also shut down the Federal Department of Education. And when I was governor, we doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America. And we'll give school choice to every family in America when I'm in the White House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're 38. You're the youngest on the stage. You've said, and you just said, you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity test for presidents over 75?
I believe in the people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House, which we don't have in there today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Go into the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic, working-class majority to deliver a landslide, and I think I'm the only candidate in this race, young or old, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Same question to you, Governor Rachel.
Never voted in a presidential election until 2020.
I will answer that. I will answer that.
30 seconds.
30-second quick answer.
You guys need to get control of this debate.
Everybody's going to get a chance.
Listen, we're getting control of the debate. This is a lightning round, not rolling thunder. Governor Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds on the same question.
Shouldn't you
On
be paying me?
education, first
Get
of
your
all, look
amendment,
at
ma'am?
Arkansas. We have to compete with China. I built computer science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As President of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science for the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China in terms of technology.
Thank you, sir. This is going to go to this is coming to you. We're trying to do a quick round of different topics here. So, Senator Scott, faith is on decline in this country. You talked about it a little bit before tonight.
These time limits
is there
are
a
rough
role
for these guys.
for a president of the United States in changing that? What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's green earth. I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education, the only way we change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing in the doorhouse of our kids, locking them into failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future they could have.
As President, Governor DeSantis, would you support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th, and I deployed to Iraq alongside U.S. Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi. And it's something that I think has taught me, you know, when you go in that type of environment, anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. Yes. And guys come together, and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the president of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something a little
I love the little jaw
world,
thing that he does. Now that's been
Governor
pointed out
Christie,
to me,
do you
I
believe
can't help
that the
but not
recent
see it.
spike in UFO encounters?
I get the UFO question?
Yeah, you do.
Come on,
there
man.
You go. But okay, we've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot more seriously. And we're hearing that, you know, there are things going on that people aren't aware of. So, if you were president, Governor Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows about these possible encounters?
Martha, and especially coming from a woman from New Jersey, I think it's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look, of course, the job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. The job of the President of the United States is to stand for truth. The job of the President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren. And so whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay.
Yeah, I like
coming
Pence's
up,
response.
we've got closing arguments plus right after the debate. Hannity is live from the spin room right here in the Fiserv Forum.
That's an
with reaction
unfortunate
from
name.
all the candidates as soon as.
I feel like Christie, he kind of went into like PR mode there for a second. His eyes kind of like focused in, and it got kind of boring for me. I don't really like it when they do that. So I that's mostly what I'm looking for, is like either you're prepped the whole time and you're always doing your prep and you're witty and you're like working with what you got on the stage, which I feel like Pence definitely did in the one remark that we've seen from him, or you kind of jokingly, reference the question that was given to you, and then you go into like long diatribe mode, which I feel like I've seen from both DeSantis and Christie so far. That stuff bores me. I like it when they're witty and they're kind of on it and they're making fun of each other and their prep involved insults and whatever. You know what? I'm a simple man. That's the kind of shit that I like. I want to see the skull bully stuff. I feel like that's important. You got to be on your toes, especially if you're going to be a Republican candidate, I suppose. So that's what I'm looking for, dude. That was a real palpable shift. Yeah, he like focused in and he's like, yeah, I'm from New Jersey and we're not all that different and blah, blah, blah. But what I want to do is I want to reverse this country back to its foundation. Like, oh, okay. He like kind of went into the rails. And this is also a very weird setup. I don't know why they're taking giant breaks like this in between everything. Maybe somebody could fill me in the comments. Again, I just figured, I was going to do a research stream on like animal intelligence and stuff, because I said that was something I wanted to learn a little bit more about. And I made a little Notion document with prep on that. So here, we'll switch scenes while this shit's going on, and I'll just go to just chatting and keep an eye on it. Yeah, I prepped the whole little Notion document for like, hey, if I want to learn about something and I'm going to be diving into articles and personalities and, research and stuff like that, how do I do that? Because maybe as a person that used to ghostwrite papers, I could give you guys some insight on that. Maybe it would help people that are doing their master's or their doctoral program or their capstone projects, and they're doing research and stuff, and maybe they're in a similar position where they kind of want to write about something. And so I wanted to kind of do a two-part or like two-pronged approach where, like, on the one hand, I'm talking about if you're a formal researcher, and on the other hand, I'm talking about if you're just like a person on the internet that wants to learn deeply about something, or you want to prep for a debate with your friends or with, your favorite online personality, like, how would I go about doing that? And so I prepped all of that. And that's what I originally wanted to do today. But then I was informed that there was a Republican debate going on. And of course, everyone and their mother is covering this. So I figure I'll lend a little bit of fun to it with some rhetorical analysis. And, maybe that would help you guys out a little bit or be interesting. So book wants the mudslinging. I most certainly do. I find it to be the most fun part of these debates. We don't learn a lot besides that kind of, I feel like it's more so drama based. And, I guess Trump didn't show up for this. I'm not sure what the whole backstory is there. I saw Rudy Giuliani had like a mugshot that was posted on Reddit this morning. There seems to be some craziness going on there. I don't really keep up with it very much, though, until people are in jail. Let's see here. The Rumble GOP stream has a shit ton of ads. Oh, I'm not watching it on Rumble. I'm watching it on Fox News. I have an account on there, so I just thought, okay, we'll just watch it on Fox. Seeing your Notion docs many moons ago inspired me to better document my own research. Nice. Well, I'm happy it was helpful to you. Maybe I could give you guys a sneak peek of what that Notion doc will look like. Again, we're still waiting on the debate to come back. I do have it open and I'm keeping an eye on it. So the second we get back to questions, I'll switch back over the scenes. Sure as fuck making Diablo 4 more interesting for me, Chief. Aw, dude, I feel you. As the whiteboard or the chalkboard suggests, I kind of want to play some video games. I prepped a scene on OBS with the help of some Discord friends. I prepped a scene for War Thunder. That's normally a tank game, but I don't ever play tanks on War Thunder. I only play airplanes. And so I thought it would be fun to maybe share something that I play and like I'm actually not bad at, I feel like, comparatively to most of the people I'm playing with. So let's see here. Damn, dude, there's a lot of in-between time with this debate. I don't really remember there being so many breaks with the other one, but let's see here. Reacting content theft, research methods. It's this one. Let's open this up over here, and then let's switch scenes and hope that it works. It does work. Wow, look at that. Yeah. And again, thank you to the people in my Discord who helped me set this up. There's some things with the gradients that I want to fix, but like, you know, we're going to be jumping into this. I'll start from the very basic of like, what is quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. We'll probably fill this out with some more practical examples, but then we have all the basics for if you're a student and you want to do it. And then we have my approach, which of course is going to have a lot more to it, but yeah, expect to see those in the future. I will try to get these up on Patreon, so you know the Patreon is actually useful. Again, let's go ahead and switch back to our coverage of the debate, though.
Inflation is choking us. I grew up in a small town. My dad died when I was a freshman in high school. My mom, widow of 3, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day. Our cities are less safe because of the fentanyl pouring into this country. Our economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump. One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other thing is for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless. That likes showers, and apparently, when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We've got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War with China is by growing our economy and through innovation. And as president, I will bring out the best of America. I will improve every American life.
Governor Hutchinson. We hope you're back on your horse soon, Governor.
Governor Hutchinson.
Our nation is in trouble, and it's in trouble because of failed leadership. And the solution is not 4 more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is not 4 more years of Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring bold ideas to America and to bring out the best of America. A president's #1 responsibility is to bring out the best of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with optimism and hope for our country, with a consistent conservatism. That's exactly what I bring. As president, I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building our economy, in terms of securing our border, enforcing the rule of law. I'll bring out the best of America in terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight, asa2024.com.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Thank you. I was a disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent household mired in poverty. I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. I have the good fortune of a mom who works 16-hour days, making sure we have food on our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. If you commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men. I'm Tim Scott.
I got a lot of cheers.
I'm asking you for your vote, and if you're in Iowa, I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a contribution.
The website plugs are neat. He didn't even get dinged.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Martha. Look, everybody on this stage wants to be the next president of the United States. And the only way that's going to happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten a Democratic incumbent in an election.
Damn.
I did it in a deep blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste.
That's a good answer.
Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey, and it's exactly what I'll do as president of the United States. Believe me,
there he goes.
The Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who can win this race, and if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you. Governor Haley.
That was good. I feel like that was...
Several weeks ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there,
these answers can't be all that good because I have no idea what the question was based on their answers.
I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation down. We will put transparency in the classroom. We will secure our borders. We will have the backs of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com, and let's get it done.
Website plug.
Vice President Pence.
Thank you, Brad and Martha, for this evening. It's an honor to be here.
Wasting time.
Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, their war on energy, runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border, an assault on our values and liberties, and the American people have had enough. But I know we can bring it back. But different times called for different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people a choice.
Weren't you kind of
proven leadership at the national level that knows how to move a conservative agenda forward? We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will again. Because I have faith in the American people. The good, decent, hard-working, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country, and I have faith that God is not done with America yet.
That was
and
a
if we
boring
will
answer.
renew our faith in one another and renew our faith in Him who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores, I know the best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy.
I was born in 1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776.
He's really
and this
adopting
is our
the hand
moment
things,
to
huh?
revive those common ideals. God is real. There are 2 genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man.
He's just
Capitalism
bullet pointing
lifts
it, dude.
us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024.
He's confident.
Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight.
He's
Thank you.
confident. He's got his bullet points.
Governor DeSantis.
I'm a human with soft skin. What does that mean?
Governor?
This is our time for choosing. We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country. I'm a blue-collar kid. I work minimum wage jobs to be able to make ends meet. I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how that's slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service above self. I'm also a dad and a husband to 6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand the importance of protecting parents' rights and the well-being of our children. In Florida, we showed it could be done. I made promises and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan, no excuses. I will get the job done, and as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
Well, we want to say thank you. Thank you to all the candidates on the stage tonight, and thank you to Milwaukee.
Thank you, everybody.
So I looked it up. Let me just read you what Google says. While the Constitution established the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, the phrase Fourth Estate reflects the unofficial but widely accepted role the news media play in providing citizens with information they can use to check government power. So sounds like our Fourth Estate, or maybe the fourth branch perhaps, is referring to media. Because when I look up fourth branch, that's kind of what comes up. Is the unofficial term oh wait, no, hold on. This is Wikipedia says in politics of the United States, the fourth branch of government is an unofficial term referring to groups or institutions perceived variously as influencing or acting in the stead of the three branches of the U.S. federal government. Views as to whether the influence is due or undue, or the actions are for good or ill, also vary. Such groups can include the press as a departure from the fourth estate, the people in some or as in grand juries, and interest groups. The independent administrative agencies of the United States government, while technically part of any of the three branches, may also be referred to as the fourth branch. So that's what our presumably Indian friend was just sharing with us, Vivek Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy is a kind of fun name. Again, you're not going to have the hard-hitting, super political commentary from me. I'm here to meme, dude. Yeah, if you want super political stuff, you can go to I'm Really Important or Destiny. I'm just here to kind of absorb and enjoy this, while it's going on. Let's go ahead and switch scenes back to just chatting while we wait for our debate to kick back up. That's crazy. They get a big break every single time. I will pass the question off to you. Is this normally how this works? Everybody leaves the stage, goes backstage, and gets their forehead patted with the towel and a rub on the shoulders and a fucking hit of smelling salts or whatever. It's kind of like boxing a little bit. It's interesting. But then again, I feel like normally I watch this on TV, and there probably is a lot of breaks to go get potato chips and tortilla chips and salsa and whatever else. So maybe I'm just uninformed, but it's interesting to me that everybody clears out the stage after each question, and then we get back to it. They aren't taking enough shots to have the mid-round towels. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, Chris Christie seemed particularly peeved after the first round of questioning, so maybe. I'm going to be disappointed if no one shits on Trump for not showing up. Yeah, maybe that happened in the very, very first bit that we missed out on. But, in the shots that we've seen taken so far at the former president and, soon to be probably jailed president, it seems like there are some notable boos from the audience. So I don't know if that's like a super big winning strategy when so much of the party is pro-Trump, even after all the nonsense that's been happening. I don't know if you gain a lot by shitting on Trump, but I'm sure some of these people will make it a part of their strategy to do that. I don't know. And especially somebody like Pence, who kind of put a stick in the spokes of Trump's plan to overthrow the election. Like, I wonder how it's perceived if you kind of start railing against Trump. I don't know if that's like a winning strategy for these people. How do you ever win without attacking the guy in front? You just don't have to right now. Remember that these people will be kind of narrowed down as time passes. I don't know if there's going to be a second GOP debate, but over the course of the race, we'll probably lose people like the rich guy that nobody knows who the fuck he is. We'll probably lose more of these candidates as time passes. And once it starts narrowing and you are actually legitimately competing against the top guy, then maybe you could start doing that. But as of right now, I don't see a point in picking a fight with the front runner when you might literally be in 8th place. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see as this thing plays out if we see more attacks on them. I feel like this is an L for Trump. All these different opponents getting airtime while he stays to his own circle. I mean, if I'm being real with you, like if I was advising Trump, what does he win? You're drowned out by 7 other voices. People already really like you. The people that really like you kind of already really like you. I don't see that changing over the course of the GOP debate because, again, I don't see a lot of people attacking Trump. I feel like that's a losing strategy. So with the way that the politics tide is churning right now, I don't really see him benefiting much from going on here. And, if he really wants to, he can do press stuff. He can go on TV. He could do a million other things where he's less restricted in his ability to say things and whatever. I don't think it necessarily makes sense for him to be out there. Now, I know that there are other political commentators that are way better at this than me, and they definitely disagree with that. I think Destiny is one of them. But I don't know. If I was advising him, I would say it's probably not a big deal that he skips out on it. He's the incumbent. It's, I feel like there's more to lose. because you guys were talking about, well, you have to attack the front runner. Like, I feel like you're opening yourself up to possible attacks by showing up to this, and you become a target for everybody. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's 101 reasons not to do that. That's just me, though. Most of these guys have no shot of even picking up a delegate in Iowa with the minimum vote rule. So I don't know about the 7th other guy sucking Trump off. Doesn't seem like it's a winning strategy either. Yeah, I mean, sucking off Trump probably isn't a winning strategy either, but I don't really hear them sucking off Trump besides Pence, and that's mostly because, you know, his boat is tied to that big boat. So, you know, what's good for one is good for all, and he can take advantage of any of the benefits that Trump, you know, had in office, or any of the good stuff that he did. So, you know, I do need water. I'm going to go grab water real quick. They are starting to go back on the stage and shake hands and shit. A lot of them bringing up the trans sports stuff is wild. I can't believe people think this is such a nationwide issue that matters in a presidential debate. It's just an easy W. Okay, trans lovers in the chat, cover your ears. I, too, am a trans lover in more ways than one, okay? But I will say, like, I just feel like it's an easy dunk. A lot of people probably on both sides are, like, either skeptical or, like, not super supportive of trans stuff. And I think at a common sense level, there are a lot of people probably on both sides that disagree with the idea of them competing, you know, in the sport of their gender's choosing and whatever. If you just include it as one bullet point of many, like Vivek did at the very beginning of the debate, like, it's free real estate, bro. I don't know. You take what you can get. I don't think there's a lot of, like, support on the Republican side for trans people. So if you can get an easy dunk by you know, referencing that, I think the people that care about that really care about that. So, you know, that do be how it is. A lot of them bringing up okay, I read that one. I think if Trump wants a chance, he needs to be at these clowning on them in the way his base likes. Yeah, but, you know, why is he gonna waste time with nobodies? That's what I'm saying. This is a whole fucking crowd of nobodies. Who gives a fuck? Once you narrow this down and you have, like, maybe 2 or 3 of them that are serious contenders, like probably DeSantis and Pence is what this will whittle down to, then yeah. And, you know, over the course of this debate, they're just giving ammunition that the Trump team is probably going to use in later debates or in later, like, mudslinging campaigns. So, you know, they're just kind of giving them free ammunition and a bunch of stuff to attack them on. And, you know, I just don't think he needs to be there, really. It's my opinion. I'm just thinking that no actual politicians on the other side are fighting for gender neutral sports, or maybe yeah, but it's not about fighting other politicians in policy. Oh, they're doing, like, a group photo shoot now. It's not about fighting other politicians on the other side and their policies. It's kind of more about wrong think. Like, you know, it's crazy to support these trans ideas. And, you know, come on. I mean, really? You want some, you know, 6'5" fucking trans woman competing against these poor little 5'6" women that have been working their whole lives only to be trumped by some man that walks onto the fucking podium and steals it from them? You know, like, I feel like they kind of have an easy dunk there. And, you know, whether there's policy on the other side or not that is, like, pro gender neutral sports or whatever, you know, you can make it out to be like there is that, because there is a bunch of, like, social support for trans people, particularly on the left. You can kind of just generalize and attack that, and it just becomes a social issue more so than, like, any kind of real policy issue or some important thing. Again, it's just free dunk points. And if you can play it like Vivek did, and you have 10 bullet points that you quickly go through while throwing up white power and shit, you know, then, you know, that's your strat. And yeah, I'm not shitting on it. As far as I've seen, it's just an online issue that no one IRL actually supports. Well, if no one IRL actually supports it, then I guess you get free, you know, brownie points by referencing it. And I think that's what's going on here. Interesting, the transphobe voices from Brooklyn. I don't know, dude. GOP doesn't care about whether they're policy or not on anything. They just want to signal the in-group and the out-group. Yeah, I mean, if you look at things like like the GOP convention from last year, the year before, and you kind of look at the rhetoric, that does seem to be what they're going for. And that so far has been echoed in the debate and the answers so far. So that's kind of the way they're playing the game. Again, we're just pausing it right now because they're kind of just waddling around on stage, and I don't care about what these four nobodies have to say about anything. So I'm not really watching the Fox Nation, team talk about this shit in between the questions. I kind of just want to hear from the candidates, and that's about it. I will say we're seeing a lot of, hold on a minute. Oh no, they're just replaying Ramaswamy's thing again. We don't need to bring in a rookie. Oh, Pence to Ramaswamy. Rip. Yeah, I don't know, bro. I really don't know. Let's tune into Fox Nation and see what they're saying.
Will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket on the economy. So I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Let me explain it to you. If I can. I'll go slower this time.
I sometimes struggle with the reading comprehension.
Look, I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. I actually pushed a Deficit Reduction Act. That was the last time we actually reduced the national debt in the United States, when I was the leader of House conservatives. I balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was governor. I mean, look, Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie.
We can't go back to back, so I'll just paraphrase number 4 for you. Remember that was the Chat GPT? Well, we've got it. Okay, Go ahead. We'll show it.
So I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax. And we have to declare independence for it. And the reality is the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid for?
Down by 98%.
Listen. Hold on.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
It's
like me, just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
the same type of amateur.
Hold on.
It was a pretty good line, Will.
It is, and he is kind of like high-key, just, repeating bullet points, and that is very ChatGPT-esque. Again, I like this guy. I do like me some Chris Christie. I feel like this is mudslinging central, bro, and that motherfucker's got an arm on him for a man of his age. He is slinging the shit, dude, and I do like that. I do like that quite a bit, and that's what I'm talking about. I want somebody who's all there, dude. I want somebody who can keep up with the mudslinging, because that's probably what this thing is going to boil down to. It's going to be a lot of mudslinging, and that's unfortunate. And yeah, in Sweden we do things differently. I get that in other countries it's different, and maybe you're more focused on policy and whatever, but this ain't those countries, bro. This ain't some socialist backwater. This is America, goddammit. And our politics is about mudslinging. It's about insults. It's about who can make the other guy look worse while making themselves look better. That's what it's about, okay? And that's what's going on here. And in terms of that piece of the rubric with evaluating the debaters, I feel like so far Chris Christie is kind of pulling ahead compared to most of these other people. And, it is unfortunate that it's like that, and it's not really about policy. And every time Pence talks about policy, I do start snoozing. But we can pretend that we want politics to be about that, but that's not really what this debate's about. That's not what the American people are listening for, So, yeah, I'm very much liking Chris Christie so far. Yeah, Christie with the slam dunk. Yes, indeed. He has an actual chance of winning New Hampshire, too. So Christie will probably second in delegates at some point. I don't know. I don't know how polling goes for all these guys, but his performance has been pretty good so far. Chris coping because his blood pressure is higher than his poll numbers. Yeah, for some reason, a lot of Republicans don't like him. Maybe it's working together with Democrats or something. Maybe it's his policies. I have no fucking idea. But yeah, there does seem to be some animosity on the Republican side for him in a way that I don't fully understand. Christie grew up brawling on the streets of Jersey. He can handle these clowns. That's for damn sure, bro. I like a lot of these fucking East Coast politicians. Anthony Weiner from the other side of the aisle, I feel like, is also good at this with being quick on his feet and really good at responding to stuff, and generally a likable guy, in my opinion, despite all the nudes and stuff. If anything, in my opinion, if it wasn't for the fact that he just kept doing it over and over and over with the nudes, I feel like the nudes thing could have maybe benefited him in a little bit of a way. Like with all the Me Too stuff and Republicans being the party of anti-jerk, like, you know, I don't know. I feel like there might have been something there. Maybe he could have gotten some people on the other side to like him a little bit more. And sending dick pics. I mean, have you seen the dick pics, bro? Come on. Come on. What are we talking about here? But yeah, I don't know. Chris Christie kind of reminds me of Anthony Weiner, and I do like that about him. And, you know, as much as he is kind of like a Chat GPT sound-alike, and he kind of sucks when it comes to responding to people, like Pence was talking about talking real slow, and his response is like, well, you know, my reading comprehension ain't all that good. Like, well, first of all, reading comprehension doesn't really mesh with being able to listen to a question, so that doesn't really make any sense. You know, it's kind of like the nervous kid in like a, you know, a mudslinging back and forth, and he's kind of making little mistakes that I feel like makes him sound weak. You know, I don't think that Vivek is able to respond to people, but he was good at answering questions with like bullet points that's going to get cheers from the crowd, and we'll kind of see how much that's worth anything. At least he's interesting. I don't think he'll be somebody who goes very far in this, but while he's here, we'll have a good time. You know, good time, not a long time with that. Let's go ahead and listen back in here and see what they're talking about.
But the fact of the matter, Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There you have it. So the reality is,
I'll talk slower for you, dumbass. Okay, thank you. I am slow. What a comeback. Yeah. Not really the greatest, bro. Not really the greatest. Not the greatest moment from our boy Vivek. I don't know how DeSantis manages to be a charisma void. Yeah. And he is scary. He is quite Homelander-esque. And now that I've seen the memes about that, I'm kind of very tuned into it.
friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what
Where's
I love about
Israel
Israel?
badge?
And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki. That is the answer.
America needs Israel.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to come back to you guys in a moment.
There's so much pro-Israel shit going on. Now we have Sleazy Shiny Shirt here. I didn't really like him in the debate, and so I'm not really interested in listening to this. I love Israel. I love Israel, Gong. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, the pro-Israel stuff. I watched some YouTube video about it, and if we really want to, we could look at that after this. There is an explanation behind why they're so pro-Israel and why Israeli people love the GOP and whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It flies over my head a little bit, but it does seem to be an important point. Nobody wants to shit on Israel here. Very interesting. Very interesting. So is this Doug Burgum?
Has to go, and we didn't talk enough about China. We didn't talk about the fact we're under cyber attack.
Is this already over?
You're right. There's a lot to talk about. Although I thought Brett and Martha did a good job moving along as best they could.
Well, it was a bit of a circus out there, and Brett and Martha did a very nice job.
They did. You talked about the
I think this is
noise.
already over. No?
Was there anything set up there by other candidates that you maybe took a lot of issue with that you didn't have a chance to respond to? I mean, there's limited time, there's limited topic. Just anything off the top of your head that you say, hey, I don't agree with that.
Well, I think one thing when we were talking about Ukraine, I mean, this idea that somehow that we can walk away from a country that's giving their blood, their treasure, their infrastructure, their people to fight. I mean, the whole reason we joined NATO was to stop Russian aggression, and now we've got a country that's doing that, the fighting for us. But we're having them fight behind their back. We would have never, the United States of America would never fight a war without air support, and then we spend, the last 18 months trying to figure out can we get them some aircraft, and then we could have given them the training modules for those aircraft. They could be in simulators, but now it's like, we finally, a couple other countries give them the aircraft, but then they're not trained for 6 months.
It would have been interesting, though, because had Donald Trump been on the stage, he probably would have articulated a stance fairly similar to Vivek Ramaswamy, which has been popular amongst the Republican base. Do you feel like that when Vivek raises his hand and really no one else does, that there's a lot of people seeing that view different than the rest of you did?
Well, I think certainly this is one area where our party's got a difference, but I would hope that we can separate two things. Hunter Biden getting paid to be on the board of directors of a gas company from the Ukraine when he has no experience doing that, and it looks a lot like influence peddling. We have to separate that from the fact that they're actually acting as a strategic ally to us against Russia. Those two things can be true at the same time, which is, keep digging on Hunter Biden, but let's understand that we've got someone who's, they're not part of NATO, they're kind of doing NATO's job, and this could be cheaper than actually us doing it ourselves, or if we have NATO engagement, because people keep saying about it's costing so much money. This could be the cheapest thing we ever have going on, and we're going to need that because we got to rebuild our arsenal, we got to worry about China, we got to secure the border, so you'd want to do things as cost effectively as you can.
It's going to be a big part of the debate. My only pro tip for you is when you're talking about the small town and crime, next time say try that in a small town. Okay.
Well, if you want to try that in a small town Doug Burgum T-shirt, you can go to dougburgum.com because the day after Jason Aldean had that story out, we were selling the T-shirts.
He's already got it. All right, Governor. Thanks a lot for sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much.
And heal up. He's playing hurt. He really did tore his Achilles, and he's moving around. We're hoping to grab. Would you be willing to come over, Mr. Vice President? How are you, sir?
Pete, I'm well.
Well, I didn't get the final calculations, but you were talking as much as anybody on that stage. Real quick, your reaction to being in the middle of it tonight?
Well, I'd leave the judgment to others, Pete. I'll look forward to watching you and hearing what you have to say. But look, most Americans we recognize know me as vice president. And you used to be in the military. You understand chain of command. I'm somebody that always thought the story wasn't supposed to be about me. And I took a half step back. But people who know me over the years know I was a conservative fighter in the Congress. I'm passionate about what I believe in. I fought for conservative values as governor of Indiana. And I think I was the leading voice for the conservative agenda in the Trump-Pence administration when we moved an agenda that made the country more secure and more prosperous than ever before. So I think what people simply saw tonight was Mike Pence stepping forward. This is the me I've always done and been, and I hope it gets us a fresh look.
You were in the mix tonight. I know you got to do Sean in a second. Real quick, was it a part of the strategy? Did you know you'd have that many exchanges with Vivek tonight?
Well, no. I just seized every opportunity.
Okay. Just a little bit of War
to
Thunder.
call him and others out where I thought they were wrong on the issues. Look. I'm a Reagan conservative. I joined the Republican Party because of Ronald Reagan's commitment to a strong national defense, limited government, traditional values. And when I see others walking away from those principles, whether it's American leadership in the world or the ideals of the American people here at home, I'm going to call them out.
We're in the middle of it. Mr. Vice President, thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Go talk to Sean. You got it. Good to see you. There you have it. It sounds like we might see the beginning of a fissure. Real quick, guys, as we're waiting for more candidates to come on over. You heard from Governor Burgum. You heard from the Vice President.
I'm gambling.
Tammy, any takeaways? It sounds like he's going to dig in on these differences.
Burgum, I think, is great. I mean, that's one revelation for me tonight, is he's very, very good, even being injured. I hope that doesn't literally slow him down. But the issues he was concerned about, I think, are really tailor-made for the Fox Business debate that's coming up. And so that second debate is going to be very, very important, considering what we've learned here. Mike Pence, I mean, what can you say? I just nothing's changed, using what others have accomplished to try to get to a point that he really should never have been in. So this is valuable information for everybody. and again, the former vice president, I'm sure, is a very nice man. When it comes to what the world's going to be facing with China and Taiwan, continued problems in Europe and in the Middle East, that's not the guy who you want to be in the White House. So I think that's what Americans are going to start thinking about. You want smart people, men and women who know what the issues are, who you know are going to be able to fight against our own deep state and resistors while dealing with the horrible menaces of the world that Joe Biden has enabled, but with his own incompetence.
I can confirm Mike Pence is a nice guy. The question is whether or not his brand of conservatism is what people are going to be looking for. It seems he's sticking to it. We've got Vivek Ramaswamy coming up right away, and then Will and Sean, I'll get your take. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go right now.
We're live right now.
Okay. Good to
How
see
are you
man.
feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fantastic because everybody on that stage, they've all been in primary debates and general election debates before. This is my first ever political debate, and I am thrilled. We, frankly, exceeded everyone's expectations. Frankly, even my own. I viewed this as a warm-up, but we came out feeling very strong.
Did you expect the level of incoming that you got? Because when we were replaying sound bites here, it was Chris Christie, it was Mike Pence, it was Nikki Haley. You probably were expecting some. Did you expect that overwhelming response?
I'll say I took it as a badge of honor. And the fact that a 38-year-old millennial coming from outside of politics poses this kind of threat to the establishment says a lot about the choice we face in this primary. Do you want incremental reform from people who've recited slogans that they memorized back in 1980 and take nothing away from that, right? These are good people. Or do you want somebody who's actually leading a new kind of American revolution in this country, a revolution of the ideals that set this country into motion? That's the choice. Do you want a super PAC puppet or a patriot who speaks the truth? And I do think it's going to take someone coming in from the outside, I'm the outsider in this race, from a new generation to actually deliver on our national identity as Americans. And I think people got a sense for that tonight, and I think it was a great opportunity to really kick off this race. I think it started tonight.
Were you ready for the hand-raising moment? That was the big one on the Trump side. Did it surprise you? I mean, there was a beat. Your hand went up kind of understanding the question, and then others kind of looked around and the other hands went up.
Yeah, the others, I think, looked at my hand going up, and then some decided to put theirs up or not. I'm not a finger-in-the-wind candidate. I will always share my convictions, and if I have one job in this race, by the end of this race, everybody in this country should know who I am and what I stand for. And if they know that and want to go for somebody else, I'm fine with that. I put my head on my pillow, perfectly at peace with that. But my job is to cut through a lot of the distortions that you get, frankly, from the super PAC class. I mean, this is a super PAC primary. Let's be very honest about this. A lot of people saying what they say on stage because the super PACs make them recite chapter and verse. I'm not me. That's not me. I put in over $15 million of my own hard-earned money precisely because I didn't want to ring a tin can with a hat in hand, asking a bunch of donors for permission to run. And that makes me different. I'm not bought and paid for like the rest of the political class in both parties. But I do think that that's a threat to the establishment, and I think that those arrows that I was taking today, I think that's just a preview of coming attractions of what's to come in the next debate.
It might be, for sure. By the way, last question, how did you prepare? What was your mental state? Because you raise a good point. Listen, you're younger than me. You're 38 years old on a presidential stage on national TV, and you become the centerpiece of it. What prepared you to have, because whether people loved or hated what you had to say, you were comfortable up there in that delivery. How do you prepare for that?
Weird, man.
Actually, talking to the voters of this country has been the best debate prep by far. I get harder questions from voters on the ground than I do even from the media, certainly from a political consultant. We have done by far more campaign events and been to more places than any other candidate in this race. Even all of last week, I mean, that was a debate. I said, let's not do the stay at home and do cloistered prep thing. I was from California to Georgia to South Carolina, Chicago, Ohio, everywhere, New Hampshire, Iowa, Michigan. That was what my debate prep was crisscrossing this country, talking to voters, and being honest. In my view, you know this. We've talked about this for a long time, even when we think about the founding of this country.
I don't have the speed.
We don't have to agree on 100% of things. But if most people at home agreed with about 70, 80% of what I say, but they know that I actually mean what I say 100% of the time, I would ask them to
wing,
come with
have
me,
an ass.
rather than somebody who feeds them finger in the wind slogans that are poll-tested stuff from their consultants. No, we have to be grounded in our convictions.
War Thunder, yeah.
And I think that's also how we reunite this country. To say that, you know what, we might disagree on the details. Corporate tax rates high or low, but we agree on the basic rules of the road. Meritocracy, the pursuit of excellence, free speech, the rule of law, something that I'm glad came up a lot today. Self-governance over aristocracy, that means shutting down the unconstitutional fourth branch. We agree on the basic rules of the road. I just genuinely believe that's true. And if I call the bluff on the division that social media and much of the political establishment feeds us, we will win this general election in a landslide. And look at the way I'm running this campaign. I mean, we've been to the south side of Chicago where Republicans don't go. Kensington, where there's a fentanyl, ground zero of some of the fentanyl epidemic in this country. Republican candidates are taught not to go there. I'm already playing for the general. I want a multi-ethnic working class majority, like Reagan built in 1980, because this just can't be a 50.1 election.
There we go.
We're skating on thin ice. This has to be a moral mandate, and that's what I'll deliver.
Well, here we go from here. Thank you, Vivek.
It's good to see you. Thank you, man.
See you. Thank you. Well, you heard it there. We had Tim Scott just run by. We might grab him in a moment if we get a chance. We'll see. Nope, I think he's going the other direction. But Will Cain, reaction to hearing from Vice President Pence and Vivek Ramaswamy.
You know, good job, Pete, by the way, asking them both about those exchanges. I was glad you did so. We're often on the same wavelength, and I was appreciative that you asked that about whether or not it was planned from Mike Pence. You know, here's one moment I would want to point to beyond those two interviews you just did so well. Sean brought up the deep state earlier. To me, the moment of the debate was actually the conversation about Donald Trump, because it's a question of whether or not we look forward or we look backwards. And this is for Donald Trump or any of the people on the stage tonight. This is where I will give credit to Ron DeSantis. It cannot be an election about 2020. It cannot be about January 6th.
After they're done talking to candidates,
it has to acknowledge the weaponization of the DOJ and the problems within our institutions. It has to acknowledge the deep state, but it has to be forward-looking and looking at 2024.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And a lot of topics, while they need to be brought up, can end up feeling like they're backward-looking, especially if Trump is in the middle of those discussions and you're litigating both what he did and what he would do in the future. Sean Duffy, kind of a curveball question for you. You can answer whatever you want at this point. But how do you think the debate looks different if Trump's in it? Like, do you think without him here, it gave an advantage to the other candidates to showcase themselves tonight?
So I'll answer your question in a roundabout way. But so when Vivek said the best debate prep was when I went out and shook hands and met voters, he's absolutely right. You get harder questions, bigger curveballs when you're on the campaign trail, and you learn how to answer those questions. You develop your answers and thought process as you get the questions from voters. So I think he was spot on there. Also, you know, Vivek, because everyone attacked him, he got the 30 seconds of response. So at one point, we'll do an analysis of who got the most TV time in the debate, and I'm sure Vivek got the most because he was responding to all the attacks, which if no one knows you, it's a brilliant way to navigate TV time and get people to know your message. And so I think he would not have had that. All the attacks would have gone on Donald Trump, and Trump would have been forced to defend his record, and I think would have gone further off the rails. One last point, if I could make, Pete, I don't know if you have someone else coming in, but I look at experience.
Maybe Nikki Haley, we'll see.
Tammy brought this up, and it's about experience. I went to Congress as a prosecutor, never served in government outside of being a DA, and my first 2 years were a disaster, and that was in Congress. You're more successful as a leader if you're coming in from a governorship or senator's office into the presidency. Yeah, we like outsiders, but Donald Trump had some difficulty getting his hands around the federal government because he didn't know how it operated. He didn't understand the animal. Vivek would have that same problem, not understanding how government works. And as you get up to speed, you lose time, and then you can't do all the things that you promised. So I think it's a real disadvantage not to know how it works, and also have a team that understands government as well, that have worked with you in government, that you can take with you to fix the problems that you ran on. So, and I think those questions are going to come to Vivek because that inexperience is a real problem when you want to govern.
They will. It's a good point, and Trump can now sort of control for that by saying, okay, now that I've been through it, I know where the bodies are buried. Just a quick thing, detail from the spin room. If it's any indication, the only name getting shouted time and time again is Vivek.
I also still have all my bombs.
He seems to be the hit of the press out there who are trying to get questions in. He has been if you look behind me, I don't know if we can pan right there. All lights are on him, and others have been here. We tried to grab DeSantis.
Whatever.
There he is right there. We tried to grab DeSantis and Scott. Those didn't stick. But we've got Nikki Haley talking to Sean Hannity right now. So if she comes off and we have an opportunity to talk to her, we definitely will do that.
There we go.
Not that Twitter or where the cameras are pointed are necessarily the indication of who wins or loses, but Will, to your point, attention is currency. When people didn't know your name 6 months ago, and now the Vice President of the United States and front runners are pointing at you and calling you out.
Yeah. And that's my point when I call Vivek the winner of the night and I ranked him number 1. It's not that I thought Vivek was perfect. In fact, it's probably that he's number 1 because he was imperfect. I don't think Tammy is wrong in her perception or her opinion of Vivek, meaning how can I say that's not how Tammy should feel? And there's a lot of people out there, I know I'm seeing it, that think, oh, he rubbed me the wrong way, he was too cocky, he felt like the class mischief maker, he interrupted Nikki Haley. There's a lot of that out there. There's also a lot out there of he's an independent thinker. He stands for issues outside the box. Everyone else sounds, as he said, as for incremental change. And all it adds up to is this polarizing effect that people will be talking about Vivek Ramaswamy. And that's the number one thing he
Governor,
needed
would you
to
be willing to
accomplish
talk to us real quick on Fox Nation?
Got another spot to go to.
Okay. Sorry, we tried to nab the governor. I was listening, Will, I swear. But Governor Haley came by, and then she said, I've got another TV hit I got to go to. So she said no. I got blocked. Yeah, I got so far we're 3 for 6. Oh, you know what? If we could pan over here. Oh, look over there. She chose Brian Kilmeade. I see where we at. I see where we're at. Yep, I see where we're at. There it is, right there, caught on camera tomorrow on Fox and Friends. We got snubbed for Kilmeade. We'll forgive him on that one. I guess that's how it goes in the spin room. I got to be a little bit more aggressive here or there. I think that might wrap up the candidates that we're going to have, because DeSantis has left, Rick Scott has left. She was on her way out, and we've talked to most everybody else. Christie's not coming. That's what I was just told. Christie's not coming. So there we are. We're about where we were going to wrap this up. And you guys have been phenomenal in breaking it down in real time. Let me do one more round the horn with all of you. If there's anything you haven't said, final thoughts, things you want to emphasize. Tammy, I'll start with you, and then I'll go to Sean and Will. Just anywhere you want to take it, you go there.
Well, you know, I think that the attention is important, and that, of course, then comes down to how you translate that into money. And of course, we know all these elections also come down to what you do on the ground and your organizing ability. The more money you have, the more you can do a better job on the ground with organizing, getting out the vote, all of that, dealing with things, you know, at the caucuses, et cetera. So the attention Vivek is getting is going to translate into certain things, and I think this is what everyone's now thinking about, is how can I capitalize on this? I'm surprised, I guess, maybe Pence didn't wear one of his 2 honest hats, and how that's going to work out for him. And then who was able to make it to the next debates when it comes to the fundraising and what the polls end up showing. But we will see, we live in an internet television world. Obviously, that's our world and we love it. But it is about how you get attention. But we also have to make sure we deal with, of course, the content and seriousness. And if people understand the nature of what it is they're fighting for. And I think that's where experience comes in, not just generational change, but people with experience, because being older with experience can help save the world.
So Pete, Sean, performance matters with money, to Tammy's point. And so I think if Vivek, to Will's point, had a great night, he's going to see more money come in. And maybe some of those big donors actually want to give money to his super PAC. And Ron DeSantis may have a little fall in all of those big donors who came in and tried to give money and have been funding his efforts. With that said, I want to just compare Mike Pence and Vivek Ramaswamy. I do think happy warriors win the day. You want to have an optimistic message. You do want to look forward, and you want to have a cheery disposition. Mike Pence was soury. I don't think he came across well, and I think everyone on the panel tonight agrees with that. Vivek, I thought, was sunny and optimistic, but to Tammy's point, I think at some points it did come across as smug. And it's that fine balance between being optimistic, taking a punch with a smile, but also not looking like the clown class jerk. And I think some voters, some viewers could see him that way. And again, but I think from all of them, he was the most optimistic and had the most sunny, rosy picture for the future of the country.
Tim Scott didn't
real
do
quick
badly.
before I come to you for finer thoughts. No, I think it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is to him. Before I go to you, Will, I'm going to go to the man who stole our Nikki Haley interview for 1 minute of analysis, Brian Kilmeade.
Brian Kilmeade.
She walked right. She walked right.
I have a different side to that story.
She walked right past us, straight to Brian Kilmeade.
It was, Pete, I have to run, and then I caught up to her. I tapped her, and once I tapped her with the camera roll, and she had no choice. But I think she likes us equally. More on that later. That tonight, she was great.
Yeah, I want your response.
Even
give us the
matter if you agree with her or not. She was great on all these issues, and she said the line that's going to resonate. And it is, Donald Trump's the most unpopular politician in America right now.
Okay, but how's that gonna resonate? Because this is a Republican primary. So does she feel good about that line or not? Because that really stuck out to me.
And I just asked her about it, and we'll roll it tomorrow on Fox and Friends, one of your favorite shows. You have cable, right?
Yes.
I know you're more of a streamer now.
I can do this
I thought that, and I thought Mike Pence and Nikki Haley on abortion. See, listen, it's not going to happen. We've never had more than 45 pro-life centers in 100 years. It's not going to change. A practical look. I also thought they went after Vivek. They went after Vivek a lot, and he kind of liked it. He seemed to have a fun time. So nothing changes. I think he rises, even if you agree with everything or nothing. And I think Governor Christie made his mark stronger in the beginning than at the end. And it's clear that Donald Trump would have had that room had he been in there. And it would have been fascinating to see him next to Mike Pence talking about January 6th, even though I never want to talk about January 6th again. That would have been pretty cool. And
I didn't even think about that.
Governor Burgum had his moment
Pence,
too, and
dude.
their rationalization on foreign policy relates to energy.
That's
so
scary.
This was their
to have
time.
Pence attacking him.
That's your 1 minute mark on your time.
Unless I'm attacked, I have to go.
Yep, and your name was not invoked. So, Mr. Kilmeade, you seem to have fun and enjoy this, and I'm going to give you the balance of your time.
I don't even remember this Kilmeade dude was.
We love you. We'll be watching in the morning, brother.
I don't believe that.
Oh my goodness, you know we do. Will Kane, we're told we need to wrap this up. One nugget you're so good at. Are there any themes popping up on social media, like stuff that we may have missed, or things that people are pointing at that'll be a thing tomorrow that we missed, or any analysis you want? But you spot a lot of that stuff.
Men in Black fucking wiped because I
haven't spotted that yet to answer that question directly. But I will say this is my big takeaway.
I gotta stop rolling
Everyone
around.
watching and every one of you listening on the other side of these cameras right now knows there's such thing as weight in a room. When someone walks into a room, you feel their presence. When they're standing on a stage, it says though the stage was tilted in their direction. To the extent that existed tonight, it existed, I think, tilting towards Mike Pence and Vivek Ramaswamy. Attention constantly went back to those two. In Pence's case, I don't think it was a positive that it went in his direction. In Vivek's, it was a positive. But that weight would pale in comparison to the weight of the presence of Donald Trump.
Not having the audio
it would
is
have
fucking me.
dramatically changed the dynamic. And it wouldn't have even been close. That's not fanboying. That's not rooting interest. That's analysis of the weight carried in a room when he is present.
At least my whole team is doing good.
I think you're right. Great final word. We're right on the nose. We were going to go to 45, and we're there. So, Tammy, Bruce, Will Kane, Sean Duffy, thanks for spending time with us. We got to do our homework in real time together. I enjoyed it. Hope our viewers did as well. God bless you guys. And that's a wrap for Fox Nation on the first Republican primary debate here in Milwaukee. We'll see you tomorrow morning with Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends. Have a good one.
Oh, whoops. All right, there's that. I'm going to play a little bit of music while I finish up this game because copyright. I'm also going to turn up my We'll finish this and then we'll do some research, okay? 12 G's, wow. Yeah. Honestly, my strategy in this game, so I guess I could talk a little bit about it before we jump into anything else. Honestly, so you're able to put points into like upgrading the crew of your plane. I basically, well, I guess this is the exception probably, because no, okay, yeah, these are more like it. I don't put anything in my defense because I think that this guy is just like, if you have a second gunner on the plane, it impacts his performance, which I don't care about. I mostly play fighters. I don't play bombers at all. And then I'll do my reload speed and weapon maintenance. And then I'll just heavy max out like my stamina for fatigue and G tolerance and accuracy. And then I'll get my G tolerance up and then maybe some vitality. You kind of only need one of these and I'll never ever upgrade him past that. But that's kind of like my strat for the playing game. Yeah, so in case you're wondering, this is War Thunder. I'll often play this and just jam out to music. You know, everybody has their games to keep their hands and their eyes busy while they're listening to something. If I could choose for it to just be the playing game, I would play the playing game all the time. Well, you are piloting a zero. Of course, your zero defends. I guess. Are these zeros? No idea. I'm not in it for like the war history stuff. But yeah. Let's go ahead and tab out of this, though, and go back to some more formal stuff. So there's something I wanted to know from you guys real quick. I want to cover animal intelligence and like sapience and consciousness and all the related, you know, things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take like my approach as if I were like writing a paper on the topic and just apply that and do that on stream and read stuff with you guys and whatever. The notes that I make, I'll probably just put on Patreon for everybody. So if you want those, you can have those afterwards. What I need to know is, there have been some conversations Steven has had with people that are on this topic, and I don't remember which ones are the good ones, because it's not the vegan gains ones. Unfortunately, I feel like those kind of suck. I feel like there was one with Hugh, or How the Lewis, or however you pronounce his name. I DM'd him on Twitter again, asking if he wanted to talk about that stuff. Embarrassingly, I asked him the same question, like, around this time in 2020 or 2021, and so I joked with him. I'm like, oh hey, I still want to talk about this, you know, 2 years later. So if you would be down, I want to ask you some questions, and I guess I'll give you guys a little sneak preview of what we'll talk about. Okay, let's go to this, and I'll just go through this really quick. So we don't really need to talk about these two because they're kind of more for if you're like a student, then you might want to like know a little bit about the different kinds of research methods and how you'd find a topic for something. But I think what we want to talk about is more along the lines of like my approach to stuff. So we'll start with a purpose, right? And that purpose statement is going to guide all the decisions that you make when you're reading stuff. And the other thing you want to consider is what got you to this point. So, you know, what got me to this point is I don't really like the way that I see Destiny engage in these conversations or the way other people do or whatever. I kind of want to arrive at my own conclusion from reading my own research about this and then be prepared with that stuff when people ask me about it, instead of saying, I can imagine that animals would have intelligence, or I don't see why there's a huge difference between us and them, and I'm not compelled by a language argument and whatever. So my purpose and what brought me to the point where I actually want to research the thing is, you know, those two things. Is basically seeing the way other people engage, having a, you know, some intuitive opinion of it myself, and then I want to go out and see what exists there. But when you have an intuitive understanding of something, or you are intuiting a point about something without having done research, you're going to have a lot of bias. And this is a topic where I'm going to have a lot of bias. And I've been looking for a topic like that to kind of show you how, like, because we've been critical of people like Lauren Southern and how she engages on stuff and how she does research. And I said that, like, when you have a bias about something or you want an outcome, you have to be extra careful when you're researching stuff surrounding that topic. And I don't think you're going to find a lot of content creators showing you what that process is like. And so I figure that would be a niche that I could fill and I could show you guys. And so we'll walk through all of this. It's a big, long document, and we'll talk about like the different stages of research and kind of what your mind space should be in each of them, and what do you do if you kind of really want an outcome, but you want to kind of balance that against what the general consensus of the community is, and yada yada yada. So one big step in that is talking to somebody like Howard the Lewis on what he believes, and in the beginning, you're getting a bunch of breadcrumbs of like, okay, so Howe says this, and he's bringing up like these 5 things, and like, okay, well, now that gives me 5 topics that I could look into, that I could find sources for, that I could also find the citations for, which will tell me, are people citing this and disagreeing with it and writing a bunch of papers explaining why it's wrong, or are a bunch of people citing this thing and talking about how, this is really good, I'm building on the research of so-and-so, you'll kind of get a feel for how the sources are used, and that'll give you some indication of whether or not they're good or bad, or how other people that are experts in the field are looking at something. Because when you're somebody like me, or probably like you sitting at home, you're not already an expert in the topic when you go to research it, so you're missing a lot. And I think what I put in here is the parable of the blind man and the elephant, which, if you didn't know, it's a parable where like you have a group of a bunch of blind people, and they've never ever seen or interacted with or have any idea for what an elephant is. And so these blind people are touching different parts of the elephant, and based on what they're touching, they're giving a description for the full elephant and what is the creature. So if you have somebody that is touching the snout, the big long trunk, then they're going to think it is sort of like a big fat snake. And if you have somebody touching the tusks, they might say that it's a big, hard, something or other. And if you have somebody touching, the tail of the elephant, they're going to think it's something entirely different. And so you're going to have that problem when you do research, because like, let's say I'm really motivated to believe that animals have a similar sapience and whatever to humans. Well, I'm going to go look for animal sapience papers, and then I'm going to find 2 or 3 that agree with what I'm saying and that seem to indicate that animals have a lot going on. And then from there, you're kind of slowly building this idea of what you believe in, but you're only touching the trunk of the elephant, right? And if instead you would have started with like, okay, well, what do animal experts believe? What do philosophers of consciousness believe? And why do they believe? And what are they citing? What is their general opinions? Or, you look at the opposite of it. What do people that don't think that animals have rights or intelligence or sapience or consciousness or any of these things, what do they think? And why do they think that? And what issues do they take with the papers that I'm reading, right? You kind of have to widen out what you're looking at, and that can be easier said than done. I actually find that that's kind of difficult. It's really easy to get lost in a rabbit hole of like one part of the belief system of like all of the people that are researching a topic. And because you're somebody that just hasn't encountered a lot of sources about it and hasn't read about it for years and years and years, you're really not the best person to be drawing a conclusion immediately about this stuff. And I'm never probably going to research this enough to be a person that could be considered an expert and has a good idea of what the whole field believes and has a more accurate, picture of what the elephant actually is. So I accept that going into it. However, a lot of internet people, I feel like, don't understand this part. They will spend like a week researching a topic, and then they will feel that they are very much like comparable to experts, or they start saying that experts are stupid and they don't know this, or they're biased, or, they've been absorbed by the mainstream narrative, or yada, 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 yada. So, we have to go in with a bit of humility. Although I just want to, focus on what my purpose is and kind of narrow that down. And I think the very first stream where we really dive into this, which should be very soon, probably tomorrow, this is mostly where we're going to focus on. What do I actually want to get out of this? What is a good stopping point for the research? What are the goals that I have for it? And what got me to this point? And you know, these two are going to feed off of each other to tell me how far I should go with it. And, you know, when do I feel like I've gotten enough information? And it's never going to be an elephant expert. You know, I'm not going to hit that level. You hit that level by studying something for years and years and years and being able to not only read a lot, because if you're reading like several papers every single day for a year, you're going to be way better off than me doing it for like a week. But you're also not going to have the ability to see how things change over time. Because like, if you want to get an idea of the direction that a field is going or the belief on a topic is going, like, well, you know, over the last 10 years, when it's come to something like ADHD, maybe, you know, it started this way, and then we started medicating, and then we started using behavioral stuff, and like you can start to see a velocity or like a trajectory of where things are going in the field because you've been around for a long time and because you had a good awareness of what was being published at every single point during those 10 years. You can use that experience and leverage it to have an understanding of where the field might be going in the future. I'm definitely not going to be at that point, right? So, you know, a lot of experts are going to be way better at understanding the elephant than you. And that's why a lot of the time when I'm doing this stuff, I start with the elephant experts. I want to talk to people that have put a lot of time and effort into trying to understand this or argue it from various perspectives. And I want to kind of start where they are and look at what they believe and see what are they skipping over, what are they not skipping over, or what shortcuts have they taken. Yeah. What if is all the credible research is on the tusk? Then you have what I would say is really, really good if you're a student. So when you're looking at popularity of topics in the field and you see all these recent publications and you see that there's high citation counts and discussions on like the tusk of the elephant, then you're going to see what you should be doing with future research. Oftentimes, if everybody's talking about the tusk, but nobody is talking about the snout, some people will probably be bringing up in the tusk essays that like, hey, we kind of need future research on the snout. There's still not a lot of snout stuff. There's not a lot of trunk stuff. And we kind of need the trunk to understand how that might relate to the you know, whatever they're called. So then comes in what you should focus on if you're a researcher, right? There are big questions that exist in fields. And if you start to notice that there isn't a lot on particular things, usually that's the gap you fill in as a graduate student. That's the kind of thing that you would pick as your research topic and that you would try to publish about because you want to kind of push the understanding. And some topics will be like that. They're all about, you know, tusks and whatever. Ultimately, though, you again have to kind of understand that you're not going to be an expert. And if all of the experts are only focusing on tusks, it might be that the animal is mostly tusk. It could be that there's a bigger elephant, but I think you have to be careful about assuming there's a whole elephant when 95% of the people that dedicate their life to researching the elephant only talk about tusks. It might just be that the elephant is not actually a big elephant. There's not actually a whole lot there. It might just be tusks. You'll have to look at the field and kind of figure out why there isn't discussion about other parts of the elephant that seem to be hinted at existing. So that's what I would say there. Yeah, so that's what I would say. And then somebody said something. Hold on. Let me put that back. I don't really remember any like good Destiny convos on animal consciousness. Maybe there was one back in the philosophy arc days. Yeah, maybe. I think maybe now that his stream is over, I could jump on and ask. Oh, he doesn't appear to be in his Discord room. Maybe he's doing something else. I didn't want to bug him when he was getting ready to watch the debate and stuff, but I could just ask him honestly. 1 second, let me check something real quick. But yeah, expect to see that. I'll probably be doing that a lot of hours for tomorrow, and we'll kind of jump into it. And another thing that I want to point out here is, where is it here? So we'll be doing free diving, which is the fun part. Though you have to be careful, you know, you're deep diving into a few different topics, but you're trying to like get an overall idea of what's going on. it's this part that will go on forever. And regardless of what I say tomorrow, just understand I'm keeping in my mind that there's always this. Like one thing that comes to mind, and I'll use it as an example to frame what I'm going to talk about. Somebody on the UFO stream asked me about the LK99 thing. And I said, it would be really cool if it was true and if it really worked. It should be something that people, because it's easy to replicate, they can replicate it and see if it works or it doesn't work or whatever. If I said anything there that was wrong, that's because I watched 2 YouTube videos about it, right? And over time, both as research comes out and as you access more of it, you're going to iterate and improve your understanding. Seems like the LK99 thing is a whole lot of hoopla and bullshit, but that's because a bunch of stuff got published that said as much. And it's bullshit for reasons that we now understand. Like, it's not just generally bullshit. We have specific reasons why it's bullshit. So as you stew on various pieces of info, sleeping on them and mulling them over outside of dedicated study time, a more clear intuition for where you should be working will form. And that usually is why I take notes. Even this note page, over the last few days, because I started this back when I was in Arkansas visiting family last week, I've been slowly like coming back to it and rereading it and revising it and, you know, making tiny tweaks here and there. And you'll be doing that the entire time that you're researching something. You'll constantly be recontextualizing other stuff that you wrote before and improving it, because the you that took notes on the first few sources is the same you that didn't know anything about the subject. The you that exists a week from now that read, let's say, maybe 25 or 30 or 40 different, you know, studies, that you has a way better intuition for stuff. And they understand a lot of things that they can take for granted that the you that exists in the past could not. So the you of the future will look at the notes from you of the past and will edit them to make them more helpful to this new version of you with a better understanding of stuff. That was really convoluted, but that is to say that, like, as you progress and you learn more, you'll be editing what your takeaways are. And your takeaways at the beginning are likely to be very, very bad and not helpful, or it's literally just a carbon copy of what other people told you or the few things that you read. Like, I think back to like a scene in Good Will Hunting where the dude is at a bar and he's like a genius that doesn't go to the college, and he's talking to a dude that is a student at the college, and he tells him, yeah, this year you totally believe in this idea because that's the book that you're reading and that's the hype shit when you're in this professor's class. And next year when you take this class, you'll be thinking that Professor so-and-so is right and that these books are actually God's gift to mankind. And then by the time you get to your graduate degree, you'll be thinking an entirely different thing because you'll have brand new professors and brand new influences, and you'll actually read these different things, and, you know, you'll progress over time. And sometimes that can be very predictable depending on what your sources are. Like, again, we go back to LK99. If I watch 2 YouTubers and 2 YouTube videos, you could probably guess what my takeaway is going to be because I only am looking at 2 sources. It's 2 sources and whatever intuition I had prior. And the intuition that I had prior probably has less of an impact on my conclusion on something scientific than the 2 sources that I read, right? And so in that way, early you is probably going to have a very predictable carbon copy of whatever it is that you're reading. And as you kind of build on that over time, you have more colors in your palette to work with to paint an understanding of the topic, and you'll be better off for it and you'll sound better. So, but again, you have to go back and consider, what is your purpose? You know, what got you to this point? And my purpose is not going to be to become an expert on animal consciousness or whatever. I just want to have a basic understanding of where the field is at and what are the conclusions on different topics like language and capacity for intelligence and sentience and sapience. And I want to have like a broad vocabulary to talk about these things. And I want to understand better if my intuitions about the topic are correct or incorrect, and what would be better intuitions to have about the topic. And yeah, that's my initial TLDR of my goal, but we'll kind of flesh that out more over the next week. What do I do if I'm mentally incapable of taking notes? I don't think anybody's mentally incapable of taking notes, but I mean, you could prove me wrong. I think you have to take notes though. Because if you don't, you're just relying on everything being in your brain, and your brain is a really bad note-taking thing. What is my purpose? I don't know, bro. But yeah, so I'll work on that, and we'll probably do that tomorrow. I just wanted to go live, check in with you guys, say hello. Hope you enjoyed the very, very, very brief coverage on that debate thing. If you guys want, because somebody linked me a TikTok live yesterday, I'm thinking I could probably just go live on TikTok playing War Thunder and playing my plane game, and maybe just dual stream that to Twitch. And like, I don't know, I kind of want to try the TikTok thing. It looks a little bit interesting. The only problem I see is that if I were to do that, I think you need to output differently for TikTok. Like, my restream could send the exact same OBS signal, like what you're seeing right now. It could send it to TikTok, but I'm pretty sure because TikTok's vertical, you would want to make an entirely different like OBS scene with entirely different stuff. Actually, if you guys want to watch as I go through that, I suppose I could. There's no point in closing the stream early here. Let's do this. Let's go to this. And I'll just look that up. How to stream on TikTok live. Let me sign in my laptop real quick. Hey, Book. What's up, Sydney? I am going to look up how to stream on TikTok because I kind of want to understand that and then maybe do that. Let's see here. Okay, tap the create icon. Probably want Restream's version of this. Okay, TikTok Live is the live stream. I think I need like a certain number of followers to do it though. I don't know. TikTok live stream. Anyone can create an account and start uploading videos. Blah, 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 blah. Download to verify you were allowed to go live. Not every TikTok user is eligible. You need to have at least 1,000 followers. RIP. Well, I guess I need to start making TikToks, huh? So I could stream on there. TikTok has a creator studio on computer, but I just set up my phone. Damn, 1,000. That's crazy. If you're at least 18 years old, which is weird because when I scroll through, because this is actually the first time yesterday that I ever even downloaded TikTok on my phone. When I was scrolling through the different TikToks, it's a lot of like 1 or 3 viewer people who are like randos. Like there was a dude on a mobility scooter in a mall that was just, he had his phone, I guess, in the front of his mobility scooter and he was just scooting around. Or like there's random like regular people who are just like staring into the phone. So I don't know. How are they getting 1,000? I guess maybe that will be what I work on today is I'll make some TikToks and post some TikToks and maybe I could see if I could get to 1,000 followers pretty quickly. Review TikTok's community guidelines. I guess the rest of this doesn't really matter until I can get that going. So maybe that'll be the next steps. I'll probably work on that off stream then. Anywho, I guess that concludes today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll do some research and I'll try to, you have no idea. Once you scroll past the first 15 to 30 minutes of random crap, it's like crack. Interesting. It needs a while to figure out what you like. Yeah, I don't help it because I don't follow anything really. But yeah, okay. Then I'll do some more research into that. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Thanks for showing up.